Hello everyone, Ecotech here. In this video we'll talk about sensors and how to monitor temperature and humidity. So in the past few days I've been working on this breadboard. It has an ESP32, there's a humidity sensor, this blue thing, with a built-in temperature sensor inside of it. There's this cable that if we follow, it's another temperature probe. And there is a CO2 sensor that we just saw flashing. Unfortunately, I didn't get the CO2 sensor to work quite reliably so far. I think it's a software issue. So I'm not gathering the data on CO2, but both temperature sensors and the humidity are being logged and through internet sent to a Google Sheet. And here we have an overview of what I'm seeing. So we have this is the temperature probe with the long wire. The DHT temperature is from the blue monitoring device, and here we have the humidity. These dial are live fed. So if we look, it was taken at the 22nd of January at 1 o'clock, and if we look over, oh okay, well this is a bad example. My laptop isn't set at the right time, but trust me, it's 1 p.m. here, so I know this is the latest value, and this is the current setting of the farm, well, the current state of it, not the setting. And under here we can have there's a graph where I'm data logging all the temperature and the humidity. So you can see that there's a few funny areas, such as in this over here and over there. This is just because at that period I was manipulating the hardware, writing some updates and whatnot. But overall, it's been running for 2 days, and I'm really excited because now everything is data logged. I'll be able to take more scientific measurements. Something interesting is that we can see that the humidity holds a certain level when the door of this room is closed. When it's open, it has a harder time and it spikes a bit more. You can see that the temperature dropped ever so slightly when I opened the door. I think this is when we were cooking, so the temperature in the apartment went a bit, the humidity went up, and about there the humidifier ran out of water, so the humidity slowly trickled down until this morning, where I noticed it through this graph. I went to check, and sure enough, the humidifier was out of water. So if we check here, I have a simple humidifier. I've since filled it up with water. Anyways, funny light. Something interesting I'd like to point out is that we see here the humidity is set, reading is 43%. Over here we get a reading of roughly 50. Now keep in mind that these sensors take, one, they're not super accurate, and two, they take time to update. And we can see that here the humidity is 49, and as when we look at the graph, it was holding 60 for a while, and then when I opened the door, it just plummeted. But here, now it's 50. So something I've noticed is that the humidity from this sensor tends to be 10% up. So now maybe is it because the reservoir is this close? I would doubt that. Another thing is here I have my another sensor, so this one is 42. So it seems that both the UNIT and the humidifier are saying the same thing. So I would tend to trust this guy. I paid a bit more. Here the temperature is 23.7. So if we compare with these results, 22.5 and 23.3. Fairly close, so I'm happy with the temperature. But if we summarize for the humidity, I think I might have to do a -10 on my Google spreadsheet to take an offset. Maybe I'll play with another sensor, we'll see. Note that this sensor also gives me CO2. I first got this device just to get a baseline of where my CO2 was. I don't plan on controlling the CO2, but I'm curious just to see where the CO2 of this room stays, such that I could I could just make sure that I have a consistent environment, and that the only thing that might affect the plant growth will be the difference in my lights. Over here, I planted a few. This is a small experiment I'd like to share with you. I'll let you know the progress. Where I just planted sunflowers in this tray with a lot of holes. I didn't fill the tray because I was just out of seeds from this batch, so it was the end of my of my sunflower seeds for that batch. Oops, temperature sensor fell. Let me just put it back. I'll let you know how it goes, but basically I'm experimenting to see if I can grow without any media. And the reason being is that now that I have a fully automated watering system, I can really fine-tune the watering. And a really hard challenge that I found in my past experiments while growing with no media is that since there's no media to hold the water, you need to constantly water it, yet not drown it. So it's repetitively watering a little bit, and that's very time consuming, and I would never get to do it. You miss one time and the whole crop suffers from it. So maybe with my now automated watering, it'll be fun to test if this is possible. A question I'd like to answer from my previous video is, how do you install the Siphon? So Siphon 17, for example, you would just, there's a hole in my tray, and you just drop it down, and there we go, it's installed. And small other note, you can see that the water funnels through here. The siphon is really on the edge, and there's about 1 millimeter of height between the bottom of the tray and this siphon. Small update, I guess, on the Siphon. Version 18 is triggering a bit too early. No, sorry, it was 17 was triggering a bit too early. 18 is slightly too late. Well, it's good enough, good to the point where I'm happy to use it. Version 19, I'm pretty sure will be very close to perfect for this setup. And then the next thing I'll work for that piece is adding some features for the ceiling, because right now I'm hot gluing it, and adding a feature where I can easily control the height. Maybe I should have started with a feature that controlled height, but when I first tried, it was a bit too hard. But going back to the sensors, I'm really happy with this small test, because now that the Google Sheets, they have all this data, and on Google Sheets, I was able to, I don't know if I've showcased this, but I'm able to create Google Calendar events with Google Sheets, through Google Sheets, and the Google Calendar controls these plugs. Therefore, I'll be able to read the temperature, and on my Google Sheet have a statement such as, if the temperature is above 25 degrees, well, turn this plug on, which would be the fan. So I'll be able to control and set the parameters I want the farm to be at on the Google Sheet without having to update any of the firmware coming with a cable connecting it or connecting through the air to these devices, all the devices. No, there's none of that. I just go on the Google Sheet, put the values I want, and all the hardware will behave as indicated in these tables. So I'm really excited about this, and I'm finally at a state where all my small experiments are coming together into a useful system, and that's why I started to plant. I think tonight I'll be planting a lot more microgreens. I'll get back to actually growing things. So thanks for watching. If you stuck until the end, I really appreciate it. If you can drop a like and a comment, that means the world to me. It really motivates me. And if you have any specific questions, please ask them on this YouTube page, such that everyone can see my answer and your question. Someone might have the same question you have, and it's just a convenient way to have everything at the same place. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.